You decided to stick with culinary. Why still make a career out of it, knowing what the future may or may not look like right now?
You can run, but you can't hide from culinary. You know, you can run to the ends of the earth, but you're still gonna be on some remote island tasting something, be like, this variety of garlic on this remote island that I've been deserted on tastes phenomenal. I'm gonna pair it with this wild pheasant that I just caught and this other sea bass that I managed to fish out of the pond here, and then I'm gonna make this amazing dish.
Welcome to another episode of Perspectives. My name is Kevin Gemmel and I'm the senior content writer here at ChefWorks. Now our guest today is an accomplished television chef. He's won multiple competitions. He's done a TED Talk. He has authored a cookbook. And oh yeah, he's only 18. We are joined by Chef Logan Guleff. Chef, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. First off, we get so many chefs on this show who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, talking about the culinary and hospitality industry. You are the first teen that we've had. What is your worldview right now? What is your outlook of the industry from your perspective?
I'd say, one of my things is the fresh perspective is always very unique and very different. I always look at, where my generation is looking in food, what the Gen Zers kind of want. And, I see a lot of sustainability. Sustainability is kind of the buzzword right now. And with good reason. I mean, I see it as a massive food trend and kind of a very big driving force in the industry right now.
I like that you brought that up because I think that raises an interesting question. 2020 was such a difficult year for culinary. We're 1 year, a little bit past a year now into the shutdowns. Do restaurants need to heal themselves first before they can start thinking about going back to sustainability?
Oh, definitely. I personally, with my younger outlook, I was trying to get into a couple stages, trying to get into some restaurants, trying to maybe land that first kind of line cook job. But I haven't done that because, I see a lot of these restaurants struggling, especially with their financials and their costs. And, when you start closing down your occupancy, you start closing down those number of tables and you start to see everything trickle down to, all right, well, now we can only do this many tables on this money with this and this and this. And so I definitely think that restaurants need to focus on, making sure that they're stable enough to continue before they really look to, their more long-term goals of sustainability or better food or stuff like that. They need to make sure that, they can keep their doors open and still serve their community and have chefs in them,
Well, you raise an interesting point because for someone your age who's looking to get into the industry, even though you've been cooking since, I think you were 2.5, you were 3 when you first started cooking.
Yeah, I was 2.
The old method was you go to culinary school and then you become a cook and then a sous chef and then an executive sous chef and then an executive chef. And then hopefully one day you open your own brick and mortar and you're running a restaurant. Has that plan changed? What do you think culinary looks like 10 years from now for you?
Oh, I definitely see that as totally changed.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, I guess the best analogy to this is if you guys remember, I see it a lot like the singer Shawn Mendes. He actually started as a YouTube cover singer. And so he would sing on YouTube and then now he's a big pop star and, classic. But he didn't go through it the classic way that everyone thinks, there was no star search, nothing like that for him. So I definitely see that as kind of the future with culinary is, I see a lot more freedom and openness in the system now that, that you can have social media, you can have contests, you can have a lot of different things that, like I come from that can kind of buck the train of, here's how you climb the ladder. So I like to see myself that way as, there's a lot of room for creativity. There's a lot of room for doing your own thing that, just wasn't there 20 years ago.
Now you won MasterChef Junior when you were 12, I believe. Time magazine named you one of the 30 most influential teens. You've been called a culinary prodigy. That's a heavy title, man. That is a lot of expectation to live up to in your formative years. How did you manage that? How did you juggle all that?
Well, one of the things that I always think about is I always look and I always see, how can I get the best flavors, the best presentation, and, the best limitations. Creativity does not come from the cloud where you've got everything.
Sure.
Your best creativity comes in a box, and you grow out of that box. And that's how I've always seen it. Some of my best work, like my Gene Spirit blended burger, award-winning burger, that was pretty constrained in a box of you got to use mushrooms, you got to make a burger. This is what you got to do. There's no way around it. I mean, I'm not going to make a quesadilla. That's not. It's a blended burger contest. So, that's how I think a lot of my creativity comes from. And, balancing stress and bad days in the kitchen is something that every chef has to cope with. Every chef has a bad day. Every chef burns things. I think that everyone knows that. But especially when you're younger, having a bad performance certainly puts a lot more pressure on you, because, you've got somebody who's going to make an impression on all of your career based on your one performance. Well, if you're an older chef, they might say, well, you had, 2 years at, Chez Philippe, you're fine. Or they might say, oh, well, you worked 2 years in Paris. Well, guess what? Everything's good. All right, you had a bad day today, but that happens. We don't need to worry about it. But they might look and say, oh, that Masterchef Junior show, that didn't matter. This didn't matter. That didn't matter because, you just had a bad day on this one event. So your demo got botched. Your food processor didn't work. So It's all over. And that's something that I struggle with sometimes, because when you're younger, every event is, the first time somebody's seeing you, the first time they're making a judgment on the rest of your career.
I'm going to use the comparison of, say, the Little League World Series. A lot of those kids who go on and play in the Little League World Series, very few of them go on to play high school baseball, let alone college baseball, let alone make a career in Major League Baseball. You decided to stick with culinary. Why still make a career out of it, knowing what the future may or may not look like right now?
I think that, everyone in culinary, they know that they love it. They know that they're in love, and they know there's, you can run, but you can't hide from culinary. You can run to the ends of the earth, but you're still gonna be on some remote island tasting something, be like, this variety of garlic on this remote island that I've been deserted on tastes phenomenal. I'm gonna pair it with this wild pheasant that I just caught, and this other sea bass that I managed to fish out of the pond here, and then I'm gonna make this amazing dish. I think that that's one of the things that always kind of travels with you as a chef. You can't run far enough away from food and from the love of food.
I think that's one of my favorite lines we've ever had from a chef on this show before. We're going to move into something now. It's called a little rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some questions, and kind of the first thing that pops into your head. Best Star Wars trilogy, the original, the prequels, or the latest ones?
Oh, I have to say the original trilogy. I'm not a sequel fan. I do like the prequels, although episode 1 does bring it down by quite a bit. I like episode 2, and episode 3 is just a little bit too much.
Fair enough. What is the most underappreciated ingredient?
I'd have to say salt. Salt is probably the most underappreciated.
What culinary trend needs to go away, and what culinary trend needs to come back?
Ooh, I'd say it's a bad one. I'd probably say, those super fast, like TikTok style quick cut videos, those?
Yeah.
I think that culinary trend, I think, is a little long past. Could go the way of the dinosaurs. And the culinary trend that I want to come back, so I want Jello molds to come back. I want Jello back.
What is your perfect Jello mold, since you brought it up there? Because I'm a child of the 80s, so we grew up on, that was a fancy dinner for us. So what is your perfect Jello mold?
I happen to use a lot of my fancy, those cake pans sometimes.
Okay.
So I like to put the Jello in those and then flip them out. So I've got an octopus one, I've got a train one, cars. Just, something more fun like that.
Okay.
I think that fun-shaped Jello is the next big thing.
Love it. Shifting out of the rapid fire now, one of the things you talked about was social media and branding, and you did bring up TikTok. What does it mean to build your brand and to be a chef in 2021?
As a chef, building your brand in the digital era requires a couple things. You gotta be well versed in making delicious looking food. and you got to be well versed in writing a delicious description of it. You got to make it sound good, and then you also have to make good demonstration of technique. I mean, that's another big thing that whenever I look at food videos, I always say like, well, how good is that technique? How good is the flipping and the producing of that? So I think that's one of the things that as a chef I look for. I look for, you know, does it sound good? Does it look good? Of course I can't taste it, so I mean, who knows? But that's probably one of the things. And also, you know, never stopping. That's the big thing with building your brand as a chef. You have to make sure that you're always pushing your envelope, always making dishes, always thinking about food.
And then last question, I always love to end with this. What is your favorite culinary memory?
I'd have to say that my favorite culinary memory is making homemade pasta on Christmas with my family. Every year we make homemade pasta, and it's really fun. We make homemade ravioli, so there's pasta and filling and sauce. Very, very Italian, very classic, very rustic and traditional, but I just love it. And it's one of those memories that I always go back to whenever I make pasta.
Fantastic. Logan, thank you so much for joining us on Perspectives. I thought you had some really great stuff to say, and we wish you nothing but success and happiness moving forward.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. My thanks again to Chef Logan Guleff for joining us on Perspectives. Now, if you like what you saw, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also go to blog.chefworks.com, and there you'll find all kinds of fun Q&As with chefs and other stories about the culinary and hospitality industries. So thank you for joining us on Perspectives, and until next time, eat well, drink well, and be well.